On today's episode of Locked On Stars, I'll tell you everything you need to know about the brand new CBA and how it will affect the postseason. Plus, the Stars 2025 NHL prospect games are right around the corner.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. Welcome to a Tuesday edition of Locked On Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Can I interest you in more hockey games per season moving forward? Well, the NHL is going to give you two moving forward starting in 2026. I'll tell you everything you need to know about the brand new CBA, which was signed and agreed to back in July. Some really interesting nuggets and how it will affect the postseason. No more LTIR cap manipulation. Plus, the Stars prospect games are going to start this weekend. Yes, hockey is back for the Dallas Stars, and you can watch the games as well. So stick around. I'll tell you how you can do that. But we're going to start off with this new CBA, which officially came out last week, and this will be set to begin on September 16th, 2026, and run through September 15th of 2030. It gives the NHL 5 years of labor peace, and this is one of the quickest transactions or extensions both sides have reached between the NHL and the head of the NHLPA, Marty Walsh, which it was his first major negotiation in an executive director role. So some really, really interesting stuff here. But first off, schedule changes. The league will move to an 84-game regular season. I know we talked about that a bit earlier in the summer, and there's going to be a shortened preseason, so a maximum of 4 games. Each team is still able to play every opponent, while division rivals have 4 games against one another every other season. There will be alterations to contract lengths as well, which we'll get to, deferred salaries and all that good stuff, but there is going to be an 84-game season. It reduces the amount of exhibition games, and it will also award the Stanley Cup a bit earlier. They are expected to award the Stanley Cup in mid-June instead of late, and I think sometimes it gets into early July. They're also moving the start of the regular season up. We're expected to start mid-September. It could even be early September. So even by this time, I'm recording this on September 8th, we could already be in regular season action starting, which is really, really interesting. There's this great article on ESPN talks about some of the motivation of doing this. It says there was some functional motivation to increase the games. It says currently each team plays either 3 or 4 games against division opponents for a total of 26 games. They play 3 games against non-divisional teams within their own conference for a total of 24 games, and they play 2 games home and away against opponents from the other conference for a total of 32 games. Adding 2 games would allow teams to even out their divisional schedule while swapping in 2 regular season games with regular season crowd sizes and prices for those 2 exhibition games. So I think it's a good move for the league. Do I care about the extra 2 games? Not really. I think the more important distinction for me out of all this is starting the regular season a bit earlier. It starts a little too late, and the Stanley Cup gets awarded like in the middle of summer. It feels almost a bit awkward. Honestly, I would be on board for them starting middle of August, sort of when schools get back in session. You get another month or 2 before you have to start competing with the NBA, which of course, I guess is the main competition during the winter. Of course, you got football and such, but it's 1 day a week on Sundays. So starting earlier gives you a couple more months without sort of going right up against the NBA. I think the NBA Finals is in June as well. So if you're able to award the Stanley Cup sort of in its own window, I think that's where the Stars should, or not the Stars, where the league should try to, I guess, move in a certain direction if that was the case, just because it feels almost awkward that it's like, especially in Florida, maybe it doesn't help when it's in Florida, it's like June and it's 98 degrees outside, just doesn't feel like it's hockey season. It's always 70 and sunny for the most part in Florida, but you understand the points as well. So now LTIR stuff, this is where it gets really interesting. We see it all the time with teams that have used LTIR to create late season salary cap space. The Stars did it, of course, with Sagan and Miro Heiskanen. Of course, we know about Tampa Bay, Kucherov. Vegas did it with Mark Stone, and you have Tkachuk as well. So it has investigated these. It says the NHL here, and says the NHL Deputy Commissioner Bill Daley said that if the majority of general managers wanted to change to this practice, the NHL would consider it. Some players weren't happy about the salary cap loophole. It says under the new CBA, the total salary and bonuses for a player or players that have replaced a player on LTIR may not exceed the amount of total salary and bonuses of the player they are replacing. And it said the NHL and NHLPA doubled down on discouraging teams from abusing LTIR to go over the salary cap in the Stanley Cup playoffs by establishing playoff cap counting for the first time. And we'll get to that in just a moment. But something else that you may be interested in, net guards. It asks here, did the NHL CBA make net guards mandatory? This is from ESPN, by the way. It says professional leagues, of course, have adjusted where players have to wear equipment protection standards. In the league I work for, in the North American Hockey League, all players are required to wear a net guard, and many of them have socks as well. I can't remember what they call them, like Kevlar or something like that. The socks were, it's basically to protect your Achilles tendon as well. It says, so the AHL, by the way, has mandated cut-resistant neck protection for players and officials in 2024-25. The IIHF did the same for the international tournaments, while USA Hockey required all players under the age of 18 to wear them as well. Now, the NHL and NHLPA have adjusted their standards for neck protection in the CBA. It says players who have 0 games of NHL experience will be required to wear cut-resistant protection on the neck area with a minimum cut level protection score of an A5, and that's how they grade these. Players with NHL experience prior to the 26-27 season will not be required to wear the neck protection. So sort of the same rule we've seen with shields and players that got grandfathered in. Jamie Benn, of course, still no longer wears a shield. Now for rookies starting in 2026, that season, will have to start wearing protective gear. And for the most part, kids are going to be so used to them growing up. It'll just become a normal thing as well. There's some interesting stuff on contract lengths as well. So the maximum number of length now has changed. It will go from 8 years to 7 years if you're re-signing with the same club, and down to 6 years from the current 7 if he signs with a new team. So a player coming off his 3-level entry-level contract could re-sign only with the same team for up to 7 years. So give some guys in their prime maybe some more opportunities to cash in during those years as well. The minimum salary will rise to $775,000 to $1 million by the end of a 4-year agreement. So the minimum salary has risen a bit as well. It says here the new CBA also will prohibit teams from brokering deferred salary agreements, meaning players will be paid in full during the contract term lengths. This is meant to save players from financial uncertainty and makes for simplified contract structures for each club. One more thing I wanted to note, because it's kind of fun, emergency goaltenders. It says the NHL is making things official with the emergency backup goaltender position, so the EBUG. Of course, in the past, you just had a goalie that was kind of sitting in the stands, and if they needed him, he would go down, get dressed, and play. Now the league is giving permanent status to the e-bug rule. So that player will actually travel with and only in practice for only one club. So I guess each team will have one, right? Instead of them being able to suit up for both. I think that happened with the David Ayres situation. I believe it was in Toronto when that happened, and he suited up for the Canes, if I'm not mistaken. So so a team will have an e-bug with them, and it says the individual cannot have played an NHL game under an NHL contract, appeared in more than 80 professional games, have been in professional hockey within previous 3 seasons, or have a contractual obligation that would prevent them from fulfilling their role. It says teams must submit one designated e-bug 48 hours before the NHL regular season starts. So there you go. Really, really interesting stuff there with the e-bug. Now, how will it affect the postseason a bit more? I touched on it a bit, but there's some more details I want to get to, and I'll share that with you in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. FanDuel is so fun. It can fit in however you need it to. Player props. You can build a same-game parlay, even jump in on the live action as it unfolds. It makes every game so much more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup like I'm doing here tonight. It's quick, it's easy, the best way to add some more energy to your Sundays. The NFL season is so much fun, and it's not just NFL. You got baseball, which is still around here for the next couple of months. You got hockey, of course, about to start up. Get in on FanDuel now so you are ready to play. Download the FanDuel app by going to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. You can get $300 in bonus bets. So the new CBA has implemented some restrictions for the LTIR and playoff cap counting, as I mentioned. That was a phrase you heard in the first segment. So what does that mean? It says here, of course, we saw with Kucherov and others how Kucherov was $18 million over the cap when, of course, they won the Stanley Cup a few years ago. So the NHL and NHLPA have put something to try to end this creative accounting. So it's a combination with the new LTIR rules during the regular season through a new CBA provision called playoff cap counting. So it says here, by 3 p.m. local time or 5 hours before a playoff game, whatever is earlier, teams will submit a roster of 18 players and 2 goaltenders to NHL Central Registry. There will be a playoff playing roster average club salary calculated for that roster that must be under the upper limit of the salary cap for the team. The average club salary is the sum of the face value averaged amounts of the player's salary and bonuses for the season for each player on the roster, and all amounts charged to the team's salary cap. Teams can make changes to the rosters after the day's deadline, provided they've cleared it with the NHL Central Registry. Now, what's the upper limit? For an individual team, it's a league-wide salary cap ceiling minus any cap penalties for contract buyouts. 35-plus players or players with one-year contracts or one-way, demoted to the minor leagues, retain salaries and trades, cap, recapture penalties, or contract grievance settlements. The cap compliance is only for the players participating in a given postseason game. As one NHL player agent told ESPN in this article, it says you can have $130 million in salaries on your total roster once the playoff starts, but the 18 players and 2 goalies that are on the ice must be cap compliant. So it says these rules will be in effect for the first 2 seasons of the new CBA. After that, the NHL or NHLPA can actually reopen this section for good faith discussions about concerns. And if there's no resolution, the playoff cap counting will remain in place. So I don't know if it's put a total stop to it. I guess we'll have to see how it all shakes out. But they are trying to address the loophole with teams sort of abusing the cap space. So it'll be fascinating to see It says here as well, the CBA does not allow an exception to LTI rules with NHL and NHLPA approval based on how much time the injured player is likely to miss. Teams can exceed these average amounts, but the injured player would be ineligible to return that season or in the postseason. So that's another important distinction here. It says, under the new CBA, total salary and bonuses for a player to player, I mentioned this, cannot exceed the total salary and bonuses. And so these teams, it says the bigger tweak is the average amounts of such replacement players may not exceed the prior season's average league salary. And the NHL and NHLPA are trying to discourage teams from doing that. So they're trying to close that loophole. That's a priority, to not allow basically the Mark Stone situation where if you know, they don't play in game 82, but all of a sudden they're ready for game 1. And I think that also the cap counting system, by having to submit your roster with 18 players, will kind of shut down on some of that as well. So going to be really, really intriguing to see how that maybe affects the postseason. I'm also just curious, just spitballing, if this is really going to change the, I guess, parity of teams. I guess what I mean by that is the teams that are always good, like Vegas, right? A team that always goes for it, not afraid to make big time trades, not afraid to take on salary, you name it. Are certain teams going to wake up and all of a sudden be competent? Like, let's just say Buffalo. Sorry to throw them under the bus. Or at the end of the day, yeah, they may have closed this loophole, but Vegas is still going to be good because they're going to do whatever's necessary, and they're going to do it up to a certain line at this point, whatever that new line is under the CBA, and they're going to try to exploit whatever they can in order to get it done. Are the Stars still going to be successful because they can draft and have shown a bit recently, not afraid to go out, make some moves, try to improve their team? Because the loophole effect, I get it. I think it's better for everybody. Look, I haven't really complained about it. I think all teams at this point should have been abusing it if they could, and the Stars did, and that was their right, and they should have, because every other team does it, and they usually get rewarded for it. So why not? But I just have a feeling like it's not really going to change or going to give maybe teams that weren't using it an advantage now. Just because I think some teams are just well run and other teams are not. I think the Vegases are still going to be around. I would think the Stars are going to still be around. Florida, right? I know, like, even the in-state taxes situation, not that this would affect the new CBA, but I just think there's certain teams, they're going to be good because they're well run, and it's not because maybe of an in-state tax or even the loophole. Obviously, they benefited off of it, but let's face it, like, Tampa Bay would have been good. Vegas would have been good, whether Kucherov or whatnot would have came back. I get the lack of integrity in some of those situations, but I just have a feeling this is not going to have an effect on any of the teams that are well run, have good front offices, make trades, go out, they draft well. I don't think it's going to make that big a difference. Not that this is why they're making this change or trying to close the loophole. I just think they're trying to close it because, yeah, it is, it is a bit stupid. But to be fair to Dallas too, well, they used it to get Rantanen, but it's not like Miro was stepping back and playing game 1 right away. He didn't get in until the second round, if I'm not mistaken. Robo too, he had to wait 3 or 4 games, so it a little different for both situations. But either way, you understand where I'm going for. So, but that was something that kind of crossed my mind when just thinking of this. I don't know if it's really going to affect the good teams type of thing, just because there's going to be teams that are going to find the next loophole, right, to try to exploit. And it'll be curious to see what what that ends up being, whether it's the playoffs or whatnot. But yeah, a couple more extra regular season games for you as well. So 2 more games we get to watch, and 2 less preseason game, which is nice as well. I think most teams, players probably just think the preseason's a slog for the most part, and they'd rather just return to action. So I'm all for it. Now, we got some games this weekend, NHL prospect games in Frisco, Texas. You can watch the games as well, tell you a bit about the roster and how you can watch this weekend. And we'll get back to that in just a moment. So this is really cool and just announced by Dallas recently. The prospect games. The roster's been announced, and they will be playing on Saturday, September 13th, and Sunday, September 14th at the Comerica Center in Frisco, Texas. And you can actually watch the games, which is awesome. Hasn't been done in the past, or maybe it was available on stream, but this is going to be a lot easier. I guess we'll say it's more seamless because it's going to be on Victory Plus. It's going to be broadcasted. Brian Ray, Brent Severin are going to be calling the game. Of course, a lovely pre- and post-game host for the Stars on Victory Plus. Both games can be found on DallasStars.com and DetroitRedWings.com. By the way, tickets are free to the general public. You can secure them if you go to the NHL or just go to Dallas Stars website. You can find the article here. And it's free to the public, which is really, really cool. Doors are open an hour to puck drop. 7 p.m. puck drop on Saturday, September 13th. They're playing the Red Wings, by the way. And then puck drop at 6 o'clock on Sunday, September 14th. If I have the luxury of being able to watch these, I will certainly turn them on. We got some things going on this weekend with the ice race, so I don't know if I'm going to be tied up or not, but if I'm free, I would love to tune these games on because there's going to be some fun players in there, some recent draft picks, of course. Cameron Schmidt's going to be in there, Brandon Gorzinski, Emil Hemming, so prospects over the last 2 years drafted by the Stars. Trey Taylor, who just came from Clarkson and played in the AHL with the Texas Stars last year. We talked to Chris Chambers about him a bit the other day. Nilo-Pekka Mohonen, who was in the W last year. And Ben Cross and Arno Tefinsi. I hope I'm saying that right again. But that German goaltender I talked about with Chris Chambers as well. He's going to be in this. So that's going to be really, really cool. And some really, really intriguing prospects. I'll be really interested in watching a bit more closely. Tristan Bertucci, that one is a defenseman, was in the OHL last year. Cameron Schmidt, of course, who was the 3rd round pick, but the first pick for Dallas this past summer, sort of the Logan Stankoven, right, of his class. Looking forward to see and watch him in action, what he can do. Emil Hemming as well, the Stars' 1st round pick from a year ago. So you can find the full rosters as well, but those are some guys I wanted to highlight that I look forward to watching here over the weekend, hopefully. But you can watch the prospect games as well. So Victory Plus, Brent Severin and Brian Ray going to have the call for you there. So that's going to be really, really fun. And we got training camp right around the corner. Starts on the 17th, which is going to be in Frisco. Next week, I'm going to talk about 3 biggest training camp storylines I have heading in into training camp. And what we're, I think, just under a month away from opening night between the Jets and Stars. Cannot wait for hockey to return. So it's going to be a really, really thrilling and exciting time. We're back to every day here on Locked On Stars as well. So tons of stuff. Be getting guests on here, just continuing to ramp up the good stuff, and look forward to a fun season of hockey. If y'all have any suggestions, let me know in the comments below. If there's a guest you'd like me to get, I know I kind of have some normally scheduled guests on. Got to get Sam Nessler over DLLS. Always love and enjoy him on. He's fantastic insight. Just great stuff over there, obviously, and love chatting up with him. So have to get him on the dial here before the new season starts, and have some fun. So, but that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Stars. I got to go over some of the new CBA stuff in case any of you were wondering. I know a lot of that is crazy, and there's just a lot of words sometimes. Man, when it comes to legal contract stuff, that's a bit over my head, but I hope you have a better understanding of what's to come. But really the main important thing, got the 84-game schedule. The regular season is going to be bumped up a bit. Stanley Cup should be awarded a bit sooner, and certain contract lengths are going to drop a bit. And the LTIR sort of loophole is semi-closed for the most part. Who knows how it will all be executed, but it seems for the time being that it will. But be sure to like, comment, subscribe, drop a review for me as well on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. Really appreciate all the love and support as always. Really looking forward to doing this another year. It was my Locked On anniversary just a couple days ago, my 2-year, which is really cool. So I sort of lucked out in having this opportunity come my way, and I'm really glad I took it. I've had a lot of fun doing this. I hope y'all are enjoying it. I know some of you are, and I appreciate the sport. I like to talk about the Stars before I did this, so just sort of worked out that now I get to talk about the Stars. I just put a mic in front of myself and talk to you all, and appreciate those of you that listen. I really do. Would not be a podcast, would not be anything without y'all. So thank you so much, as always, for listening and leaving your feedback. I enjoy engaging with y'all as well in the comments. I've met some of you, which is just crazy to think. A bit wild. Some of you had said hi in person, which is really cool. It means a lot. It really does. I'm grateful I get to do this. I'm grateful I get to talk about hockey for a living. I wouldn't want it any other way. I want to do it from a pretty young age, and it's pretty cool that it's possible. So thank you. Enough with the somberness. Have a great Tuesday, Stars fans, and we'll see you on the next episode of Locked On Stars. So long.